everybody. Welcome back to the Rewind here on Wayward World Studios. I'm Thumali. That's Thumali. I'm your host. And today, um, this is another segment, another edition of the show called People Who Have Applied to the Show, although they didn't really need to because I'm very familiar with this next artist. They are drag artists. Drag king drag artists. They do drag of all sorts. Over here where I live in Spokane, Washington, after maybe shitting on Spokane just a little too much, like probably as much as it deserves, just a teeny weeny little bit. But we have some phenomenal performers here in Spokane. They are Mix PFLAG Gay Spokane of 2024-2025. Please welcome to the show, TS Loveless. How are you doing, TS?
Mm, Fantastic. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited for you to be here. Now, um, I know, like at the beginning, I said like we shit on Spokane a lot. Do you think it's warranted just a little bit? But or as Mix P Flag Gay Spokane, are you not allowed to like shit on Spokane a little
Well,
bit?
no, I think that criticism, if it's done well, is okay. So, I mean, I think there's plenty to criticize and plenty to praise.
Oh yeah,
But I also just had my step down for my title yesterday, so I
I
don't
saw.
really have to worry about that anymore.
Okay, well there we go. You can talk shit about Spokane all you want, but like you said, there are some good things in Spokane, and you're one of them. How are you doing?
Wonderful. I mean, drag is the drag world is stressful, um, but it's also fun, and I've been so busy, so that's been a really huge plus, getting to work with so many people in our community.
Oh yeah, what has been the most memorable moment? I know because like you just recently did your step down for Mix P Flag Gay Spokane, but what has been the most memorable thing for you in 2025 so far?
I think so far, so I took over the Neato Burrito shows, formerly Neato Dragito from Fanny DeVito, my drag uncle. Um, and I think the most like probably the best part of 2025 was being told that the first show that I put on was the best show that that bar had ever seen.
Oh.
Um, and I've been riding that high for a few months now.
Yeah,
Um,
well, I'm very
yeah.
excited. I'm very excited to talk about Queerdos because, as my viewers remember, Fanny DeVito, him and I, we fought to the death to get our Spokane Art Award nomination, and one of us came out victorious. Although Fanny, probably, honestly, I would say Fanny deserved it more than me and what he provided. But I'm very excited to talk about Queerdos in like Nino Burrito again with you. And I'm really excited to learn a little bit about you because before drag, we've kind of had a little bit of a history because you used to work at, I don't want to say which coffee shop it is because it's directly next to my house. I don't want to dox myself, but it's a coffee shop that's like directly next to my house. And like that's how we first got introduced to each other. So I'm very excited to like get to know you a little bit more. So tell me, TS Lovelace, why don't you tell the wayward artists out there who is TS Lovelace?
So, just like a little bit of a background, I've done a lot of like haunt actor type things. I worked in a full contact haunted house for about 5 years. And I have a really long history of theater, mostly backstage. I've done tons of crew work. Um, so I ran into a huge rut, probably, gosh, right before COVID, um, where artistically I was just not producing things and not making things and creating like I wanted to, and it was really killer for my mental health. And then I got introduced to a few people in town, which I won't choose to name because they're not really welcome here anymore. But
Valid, valid.
I started doing burlesque and um, just kind of developed this character who uh, had no gender, had no restrictions. And my character is mostly focused on um, like propaganda and kind of pushing pushing boundaries and talking about hard topics through an artistic expression. And I've just kind of followed that ever since, and it got me into drag. I actually never went to a drag show until after I started performing.
Mhm.
Um, so that's kind of what it is. I do a lot of community work, but I'm also an adult entertainer, and I like to work through my own personal emotions with my drag character. So
Yeah,
that's yeah.
it's really interesting, like when the type of drag you do, especially since it's you've only been doing it, according to your application anyway. You said you've been doing drag for about 3.5 years. Um, you're in the filth aspect of drag, like the alternative aspect of drag. What kind of attracted you to that aspect to it? Because usually when people are introduced to it, they're introduced to like the RuPaul's Drag Race, like the high femme like aspects of drag first, and then they get into the filthy, disgusting, gross.
Yeah, so that was actually my like growing up, that was what I was exposed to was like RuPaul's Drag Race, which, I love drag queens of all forms, drag performers, period. But I think the filth aspect was really this like deep-seated fear of being viewed as gross and disgusting. And I was so scared of that because I'm maybe not the most average body type for doing drag. And my identity is not like necessarily the most common, and I felt all of these conflicting feelings about people thinking that I'm like not enough or I'm gross or this like monster that they don't want to have in their space. And that's kind of where that was birthed from, was just that it was a chance to do these things that I think about in my head, and these insecurities that I have, and just kind of put them on full display, and being very human. And I think humans are gross, but I also love them. So that's kind of where that came from.
Yeah, like playing into your anxieties and stuff like that, like into your drag. I really think that's so smart because a lot of people, especially like when it comes to like adult entertainment or like burlesque or drag or what have you, like it's so um what's the word? Exposing. You know, like you're being very vulnerable on stage and like to manifest those vulnerabilities on stage, like that takes a lot of courage.
Yeah, it's definitely, the anxiety is still there, but it definitely eases it.
Oh no, for sure. And I will say, like, there are some busted up bricks and doing drag, like, they look ugly as sin. And, I think like looking at your like makeup and stuff like that, like you look phenomenal in all of your stuff. I remember like that same award show that the Fanny DeVito and I were a part of, like you were there too, and you both looked really good.
Thank
um
you.
Obviously, you were paying homage to Fanny in his white makeup and stuff like that, like your drag uncle. But I noticed that you do a lot of like white face paint, like drag. Was it a lot of it the inspiration from Fanny DeVito and also your drag mother, Ducky Loveless?
So I actually started doing that before I ever met or was close to either of them.
Oh, okay.
It was just always a base that we used like in the haunted house industry, because it was just easier to build off of if it was a completely blank canvas. I would say that now the my style of face are definitely inspired by both of them and other people that are in our community, but it's also very uniquely my own as well. I have like I do like the family funky nostrils as part of our faces. Um and I think, we're also unique. I get mistaken for both of them all the time, but
Uh,
you know, you see a white face and they're like, "Oh, you must be Fanny or you must be Ducky," and I'm like, "I'm neither of those
yeah.
people."
Well,
But thank you.
would you be shocked, like once I won the award, because you and Fanny left early because you had to do Neato Burrito that night, and would you believe me if I told you everybody thought I was Fanny DeVito? Like
Absolutely.
I was just like. like it was so confusing because like I didn't realize it at first. Once I won my award, they were like, "Oh, when is Neato Dragito?" And I was like, "Oh, they do it every Saturday, Sunday, whenever it was being done at the time." And like it's this, and this. Yeah, you should go out. It's so much fun. And he's like, "Well, congratulations on that." And then like I put it in my brain, and I was like, "Did this guy think I was Fanny DeVito?" And then somebody we took all these like headshot pictures that were spread around all around the gallery and stuff like that. And they were like, "Would you like your headshot photo?" And I was like, "Oh, sure, I would love that. I still have it. It's on my closet floor. I haven't picked it up." Um, and they give me Fanny DeVito's picture, and I'm just like, I don't look like him. Like this is like two different people.
It literally happens all the time, and it does not matter if we look anything alike or not.
Yeah, I will say I do want to ask because saying that you do get mistaken for the both of them. What makes you indistinguishably different than your drag parents?
Well, if we're talking about like physically, as far as what I do, I'm the only one out of us that blacks my neck out. That's kind
Mm,
of part of my signature. Um, but I also, between all three of us, do a lot more of the kind of weirdy, alieny, more animal type
mm.
makeup. I've incorporated like scales into my makeup. I do a lot of like kind of grimy, like I have like spray blood that I put all over my face sometimes. Um, I mean, I'm so versatile in the way that I do my makeup. I don't really have like a set face.
Mhm.
And I'd say like Fanny's definitely a lot more of this kind of rocky glam. And Duck is so colorful and very clowny. And I'm just kind of the mix of those two and something else.
Okay. Yeah, I see that. Like knowing Ducky and knowing like Fanny, there are a lot of similarities, but like there is something in there that's like individually like you. You mentioned the scales and like kind of maybe the grossness a little bit. Like I can see that being, a TS stamp right there. And then I was curious about your name because at the beginning of the show, I was like, "Oh, it's T.S. Loveless. It's Viridian Venom." And you go by both of those names, do you? Like when it comes to like performing?
Viridian Venom's uh just my handle, and that's
Oh,
mostly I mostly did that because my first time doing drag, I did like a snake charmer type character.
mhm.
And I was just like, oh, that sounds really nice. And like my main color that I like to focus on is green if I do any color. But TS, originally my name was Absintha Dementa. That was like my burlesque name. Um, and it was like a more general name for a drink that is called like an absinthe Swiss, which is like a feminine name. And I really love absinthe, and I love that it's also a very propaganda-y uh, alcohol,
Okay.
which kind of fit. And so it was just like a kind of a mix of those. But I decided to change it one because everybody struggled to pronounce it, and it got
Mm,
on my nerves so much, and I was like, I need to not be this angry about a name.
yeah.
But also I'm obsessed with Cats the musical, and the person who wrote the book that inspired that was T.S. Eliot.
Oh, okay.
So that was like a little homage to that, but also TS stands for Tramp Stamp, which is my clown name. So
Oh,
it's a
uh,
mix of everything, but
oh, okay. I thought it was like transsexual. Like there's
everybody
also
thinks that it is, and I'm like, it's not that. I get where you're thinking that, but yeah, that I had to kind of dispel that a little bit at the beginning because I had people who would just come up and call me a slur, and I'm like, you're not allowed to say that.
Oh no, yeah. Like I'm glad you said that because like as a non-binary person myself, like who into the fam, like even I was just like, can I say that? I was just like, well, it's obviously on their Instagram and stuff like that, so like it's fine.
Yeah.
But like no, I like that name. It rolls off the tongue a little bit better. You should have forced people to say like the complicated one because like Thumali, like people have trouble saying Thumali, and I was like, I don't care. That's like my last name. Like that's part of my legal. Like even out of drag, I'm Saeed Al Thumali. Or Sid Al Thumali. Like it's you're gonna have to pronounce it anyway. You know what I mean? Uh, but way to like help people out, you know?
Yeah.
And that works with like your community work, which we'll get into in just a second here. Was that where T.S. Loveless was kind of born? Was in the haunted house, like, because you said you were developing your character back then. Like, what kind of character were you in those haunted house era?
It was kind of a mix. It depended on the game, but I've done witches, I've done zombies, which are not my favorite. I'm terrified of zombies, but I did love being a zombie. Um, all kinds of monsters and things. So it was kind of I got to make my own costumes and kind of figure out my own makeup and all those kind of things. So it was just like a lot of experimentation, which was really great for my creativity because I was given like a very small guideline and then I get to just kind of do whatever with it.
Oh, that's so cool. I didn't know there was something like that in the valley. I was familiar with Silverwood or Scarywood like every year, but I didn't know the valley had like something like that. That seems really cool.
Yeah, it is really cool.
I love going to LA for Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights and stuff like that. Have you ever been?
I've always wanted to go, but I haven't been yet.
Yeah, you should. It is such a fun time. If like Hollywood is obviously closer to us, but the Florida one is like the biggest one of the year. Like I
Yeah.
I go to the Hollywood Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights every year, and it's just so cool. Like being in that environment and seeing all the spooky, scary stuff, and going to Not Scary Farm. Are you familiar with Not Scary Farm?
Yeah.
Okay, okay, yeah. Not Scary Farm is just top notch, like um scary houses and stuff like that. They really like push the envelope. Just go to Universal Studios next time.
I want to. I want to so bad.
It's I think this year it's rumored to have Five Nights at Freddy's and stuff like that. So it would if there was a year to go, you should go this year. It's rumored though. They haven't announced it yet.
I sure hope they do because I am obsessed with Five Nights at Freddy's. I love it so much.
Oh yeah. So was that where you got like your makeup skills, like between that and like theater and stuff like that? Like, because yeah, you paint really well.
Thank you.
Like, is that where you essentially like got those makeup, how you acquired those makeup skills?
I would definitely say that's where a lot of my experience with more theatrical makeup and prosthetics came from. Um, I also did, I mean, I was the main cosmetics chair for a couple of years working with like small school theaters. But that was mostly just like normal painting and stage painting. So I would definitely say that's where I got a lot of those skills from. And I learned a lot. We don't do our own paint working at Scarywood, but I did learn a lot about different ways to like contour blank canvases and things from the people who work there as well.
Oh yeah. I mean, you pick up all these small things. Like it's kind of like me and like this podcast or like doing my own drag and stuff like that. Like it all stemmed from theater. We were all theater kids at one point.
Yeah,
and now we're just cross dressers or like what have you, like just
right.
playing at night, like playing pretend at night basically. But no, you look so stunning. I love you had this most recent one, like this black and white one, with the swirly nose. Like I really like that one. But you
Oh,
also,
thank you.
yeah, you can also pull off like is this a Chapel Roan look? Like it's like you in a like a red auburn. Okay, yeah. So you were
Yeah,
trying
I
to.
do. I do two impersonation looks. I do Sabrina Carpenter and Chapel Roan.
Okay, yeah, you do look like Chapel Roan actually, and
Thank
well,
you.
specifically in that makeup. Why Chapel Roan impersonation of all people? Is it just because you're like, oh, I kind of look like her?
It didn't start that way. I just I was so inspired by her songs, and I have this like kind of connection with her of being this like kind of closeted, like a little conservative with my expression. And I I was born in Chelan and grew up in Wenatchee and then moved here, and I just didn't have that like peop that openness to being perceived as queer. And I've always been like verbally understanding of like, oh, I know that I'm a queer person. But I think it's so nice to see more representation for people who grew up in small towns and maybe didn't have those opportunities or it wasn't safe, being able to be so like visibly loud and have this platform. And so I think I was just so inspired by her and wanted to like kind of impersonate her. And then when I put the makeup on, I was like, oh, whoa, I actually do kind of look like her.
Oh yeah, I love Chaperone so much. Despite all the flack she gets, like unjustifiably, I think like she gets so much flack. Um, I I think a couple months ago I was listening to Pink Pony Club, and I really listened to it. I don't know if I was high or what have you, but like I really listened to that song, and I was like, this song is a lot more emotional than I thought it was. Like this is people are just dancing and having fun. What are you talking about? This is like a sad this is kind of like so emotional and like so like gut wrenching, like in a good way. And like I don't know. I feel like people are not I mean, I'm sure people are talking about it, but like people are not talking about enough how much Pink Pony Club is like just such a queer anthem.
Oh, I 100% agree.
Mhm. Going back to because you know we talked about small towns with like Chaperone and stuff like that. Spokane is a small town. And like I plan to move very soon. I don't know like how that's going to work out, but because of the smallness of Spokane, I've like decided to find a bigger escape into like bigger opportunities and stuff like that. So I'm curious to hear from you, someone who is actively kind of in the like in the nightlife scene here in Spokane. How what's it like being like navigating it? Especially since you know we had things like the Lions Lair closed down, the Globe is not really like a gay bar anymore. Like unfortunately, you really only have nine, and then like Neva, Evil Kniva also hosts. I feel so bad. I need to get to her show eventually, but it's always on a weekday, and I'm just like after work, I'm tired and I just want to go home.
That's so
Or
fair.
so like uh tell me about how it's like navigating that as like Spokane as a queer artist or you know as a drag artist specifically.
You know, I've I've come in where from a place of like not really having the queer community as like a actual communal space and have like fully embraced it. And so I have a very different perspective from a lot of people who have like been raised in this, have grown up in it, have been supported by it for so long. And I see I see how difficult it is, and I've felt that where, you know, it's kind of hard to get into some of those more established places, especially with people who are from like the drag court, the ISCS. They can be exclusive. And you know, being an alternative performer, being even just a drag king, if you could be the most normcore drag king in the world, and it's still difficult because it's just not as respected. And there's a lot of those older values of, well, you're being an impersonator, you're not just doing a character. And I don't obviously don't subscribe to that. But it can be really difficult to navigate that and find people who like will take you seriously and allow you into some spaces. And it's hard too having places shut down that you care about or, you know, being blocked off because these businesses are like worried about getting flack for having drag shows or anything like that. Um, I think I've been really fortunate in my search for spaces and just have worked really hard to like carve out our own spaces and to really embrace like we just did a show last night, our midnight brunch show, which is supposed to be like a celebration of the mix of classic drag and alternative drag and mashing those together to make something new and something exciting. And our current empress for the ISCS, Crystal Marche, just asked me last minute. She's like, "I love the energy so much. Can I perform?" And I was like, absolutely you can perform.
Mm.
And I think it's just part of my work is like bridging these gaps between the more older standards and social dynamics of the drag community and our alternative performers because ultimately like they're our future. They're the youngest group of performers we have in town. And a lot of them just don't subscribe to those kind of gender norms or those social dynamics that we have. And I support that so much. And I also try to be understanding and open to what our drag elders have to say because I think there is a way to move that forward and really connect with our community. But there's a lot of division because of it, and so it makes it hard for people to find places to perform, which I'm trying to help aid that.
Yeah. Well, that's so cool that Crystal Marche, I'm familiar with her. I don't think I've met her like face to face, but I'm familiar with her work and like the fact that she like came up to you and wanted to be a part of like your show and stuff like that. Like that's such a huge honor. Especially since like you're right, like the Imperial Sovereign Court, which by the way, I learned that it's not a Spokane thing. Like I thought the Imperial Sovereign Court is a Spokane thing, and then I looked into it a little bit more, and I was like, oh wait, Seattle has an Imperial Sovereign Court. It's like, wait a
Oh yeah,
minute,
it's a
there's a
national organization.
it's a national organization. I don't know. It just felt like it was such a Spokane thing for a second. I don't
Yeah.
know why. But like a lot of the people that are in the Imperial Sovereign Court here in Spokane are of that older generation of the people that, you know, have been doing drag for years, but they've been doing it a specific type of way. Um, I hope more of them can like be open to like the newer alternative like generation where, you know, there's not one way to do drag. You know, it sounds very like the conversation I hear about that is very similar to like how RuPaul eventually like was like, you know, trans women who are on drag like doing drag is like taking steroids or something like that. You know, like I just like that's just like such an old way of thinking. Like drag has to be this one, you know, it's cross dressers, it's men in dresses and stuff like that. Like it's evolved so much. I mean, even back then it was kind of, you know, punk rock and alternative and it's just so crazy like how much division there is. Like it's drag is such a niche within a niche, and like drag is such a niche, and then like alternative drag is like a niche within a niche, and it's just like, why are you guys fighting?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's, especially with that kind of mindset, and even I mean, I would even say for definition's sake, like a lot of older drag queens will call themselves cross-dressers. I just don't think it's the same. Cross-dressing is so specific, and I think that's where we get a lot of that like argument of drag being a fetish, for lack of a better description. Because cross-dressing it doesn't have to be that, but does kind of get represented that way. And I don't think it's the same as impersonation. And if the focus is really heavily on it's either, okay, I'm wearing a dress and I look more masculine versus I'm trying to look like a woman and perform as a woman. Very different things. Um, but there's so much division in that, even just with drag kings, because they think it's like a lower effort to
Mm.
make yourself look like a man for some reason. And I'm like, it's really not, though. I can paint
Yeah.
just as much as you do.
Yeah. I
But,
mean, like,
you know,
it's the
yeah.
facial structure. Like, if you look at a drag king's makeup, I mean, like, even just looking at yours, like, there's shadow being applied. Like, there's, like, like there's focus on like contouring and stuff like that on like certain areas of your face to like really chisel out like a lot of like feminine like any feminine features that you may have. Like for me it's like I have a rounder head than most guys. So like whenever I do drag it's like it's easier for me because like I don't have like that square jaw or like those high cheekbones or something like that like a cisgender man has. But a lot of drag kings are like cisgender women or trans men who you know they have those like softer features, so like that oftentimes they're carving it out, they're thinking about that. Like there's that like there's attention to detail to that, in like the same way that like drag queens, cisgender men who dress up as women, or trans women who do drag, like they're also thinking about those things as well. So it's so crazy to me, like that they think that there's people out there who think that it's so much easier to be a drag king.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just think it's, that where a lot of drag queens have had a lot of struggles, and that's something too with like the older community, is that they've faced things that I'll probably never have to deal with my entire life.
Mhm.
And so they're very protective of that. And so having somebody like maybe a cis woman coming in and wanting to be a drag king, or a non-binary person, like they're so defensive of that because they've really had to like fight tooth and nail for their space. And so I think the like explosion in participation in drag has put them on the defensive because they feel like it's not going to be sacred to them anymore. And I just don't think that's true. I mean, I think there's some level where it's like, okay, if I could see if it's you're not putting as much effort into it, or you're not trying to put as much effort into it, I kind of see where I'd be a little defensive about that. But I think it's just really helping understand that it's the continuation of that art form and not letting it die out, because we don't have to struggle to hold on to something and keep the sanctity of it. And so it's a lot of work. I mean, people are so scared of it becoming something beyond or more open than what they expected, and they've had to protect that.
Yeah.
So, I think that's where a lot of that defensiveness comes from.
Yeah, and whether we like it or not, drag is one of the most popular things now. Like it's no longer
Yeah.
this underground, you had to learn about it from somebody else. Like RuPaul over the last like what, um 17 years has like opened that door. Whether we like RuPaul or not, like whatever regardless of how you think about RuPaul, like RuPaul put a spot on the drag community, and drag is more popular than it ever has been, especially now, like during this Trump administration, like where resistance and, being visibly queer is so much more important. Like drag, like there's a spotlight on drag that like has never been there before. And like we have to like have each other's back. It's unfortunate that people think otherwise.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, going back to you, talking about community and stuff like that, since that's kind of like what we touched on. How have you served the community? Because as Delta Work says, are you serving the community like me? Because you mentioned in your application, like, you do um, um, activist work with your drag. You're a mixed PFLAG Spokane. I would love to hear you talk about like what that title means to you, because Fanny DeVito at one point was Mr. PFLAG Gay Spokane. I would like to talk about that title, and your community work as well, because I think a lot of the drag performers that I've seen here in Spokane really put a huge, whether they're drag kings or drag queens, there's a huge emphasis on like community work. And whenever I'm at Pride, or whenever like just walking around, seeing shows when I can, I like there's always some kind of fundraiser. There's always like something going on. So tell me about your activism work.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of it is in the same vein of doing fundraisers. And just in the last year, like part of our requirements for having a title with PFLAG is we do two fundraisers. It doesn't matter how we decide to do them. Typically, what people do is they do like a drag show, and then they do like a some kind of auction. So that's what we did both for both of ours, me and my running partner. And that was I've done other fundraisers before. But like volunteering my time, even just helping with community events, um, I think that a lot of my a lot of what I want to inspire other people to do is just even to be involved. But like I've gone to like the courthouse, or the I can't think of what it's called, but our government body, we do city council meetings every week, and I've gone to those and supported bills that have gone through. Um, I've gone to different rallies and things in town. Being really proactive in not only the non-money things is really important too. Um, but fundraising, I think, is probably one of our hugest things that we do in our community. It's like a really big thing here, especially, I think, because that's the only way that our like PFLAG, Spokane Pride, um, Odyssey, Spectrum, like they all are kind of an intermixed system that help each other survive. And so to continue having those programs that are important not only for our youth but for our adult programs, like it's completely vital that we have those funds. And so when I'm not like throwing my own fundraisers, not just for a title, but doing other kinds of fundraisers, I've tried to help support. Like I've helped with ISCS fundraisers. I've helped raise money for Spectrum and Odyssey, both for with burlesque and with drag. Um, and just even if I'm not the one that's participating in it, just showing up
Mhm.
and participating that way is just as important. And it's part of like the Loveless house values to participate in community work if we can and try to set an example because we want to inspire people to like take themselves seriously and their community seriously. Um, so I feel very privileged to have been able to do so much. And I have another fundraiser coming up on the 24th or the 25th. It's the Mamma Mia drag brunch.
Mhm.
And that's all to help Spokane Pride because they have lost most of their corporate sponsorships for Pride this year. So we're trying to raise them as much money as they can so that we can make sure that the people who get paid continue to get paid and we can still have Pride. So that's kind of where I'm at with the community work.
Yeah, it sounds like you've had your hand in a lot of things, like when it comes to like uplifting like queer spaces and like our queer community. I mean, um we do. I think Spokane does a lot of fundraising because of like just the lack of things for like queer people. Like Odyssey, for example. Like it's kind of amazing that Odyssey is still around and it's been there since 1992, and the fact that it's like survived this long for queer youth to like explore and have a space to be themselves. And then like you have stuff like Spectrum, like you mentioned, the Spokane branch of PFLAG also has done a lot here for like the queer community. Um, it's just, yeah, like there's just such a huge emphasis on like support because there really isn't a lot of space for us. And like it's people like you and like these organizations that like um really helped when it comes to like uplifting people. I wish I did more. I mean, the best that I could do is just a podcast and like, hey, let's talk about not only cool artists that are in Spokane, but across the world and stuff like that.
Yeah. I think too, it's, everybody has different capacities. I think even just showing up is a form of activism because we're there and we're taking up space
Mhm.
and everybody does their part. And that's, it's to me, it's like having a podcast, I would say that, you know, a lot of people listen to and it's broadcast out to the world. They can see like even in small communities that maybe we have scarier, not so open politics or anything like that, that we're still thriving and we're still helping each other out. And I think that's what's really important is just that you're helping make things visible for other people too, to inspire them to also do the same thing in their communities. It all
Mhm.
plays a part, some people can do rallies, some people can do 1,001 fundraisers in a year. It all matters.
Yeah. Speaking of fundraisers and stuff, like I want to get back to you and talk about now. I'm sure all the fundraisers you've done are very important and they've been wonderful. Has there been a fundraiser or like a charity show or like an activism show that you've been a part of that meant a lot to you specifically? Like a specific show that you can think of?
Absolutely. In January, actually, Um, somebody who used to be a doorman at Neato, was shot and killed in Capitol Hill in Seattle.
Oh,
And their partner who traveled all over the country with them they did gig work together. It was obviously really sudden and did not have the funds to continue on without that second person to work with. And we ended up coming together and doing a fundraiser show for them at Berserk to raise funds so that they could take their partner's ashes and travel the country and could revisit their friends that they had made doing this gig work, um, and basically take them along. And I think that was I mean, it was essentially like a wake, a celebration of life for this person. And to be included in that and to have people be like, we know that this person loved you. They knew my drag mother, they knew Fanny, and um, just to be included in something that's so spiritual, I would say, and so sacred to our community. I mean, just seeing so many people come together for a single purpose to raise money for this person's partner was so inspiring to me. And I think that's probably the one fundraiser where it's meant the most because it really told me just how close-knit and important community is. And, I knew that before, but this like really sunk it in just how important it is because I mean, it could make or break somebody if they don't have that support system.
mhm.
And gosh, I can't even think of how many people were there, but it was a packed house all night, and there were people constantly coming in and supporting it, and it was just an amazing display of love and community. So,
Yeah.
sorry, I'm getting a little teary-eyed with that one.
Oh no. I mean, like I was shocked. I didn't hear anything about this. Like I'm very shocked, especially like it coming from like the Capitol Hill area too. I go there pretty
Yeah.
often. I haven't heard anything about that. So I was just like kind of in awe that someone's life was like taken like so suddenly and unintentionally like that, like being shot randomly. But I can understand where you're coming from when it comes to like that being an emotional one because like you were so close to that person. And it sounded like, and I don't know who that door person was, but it sounded like they were well loved. And like when I was interviewing Anti-Heroin on Dragula, we talked about like how fascism wants to like separate us as a community. Like fascism's goal is to like isolate. And that really stuck with me. Like I now more than ever, we all have to be there for each other. And like hearing that, like hearing that you guys were able to like come together and help this person out that obviously meant so much to many different types of people. That's so cool. That's so inspiring.
Yeah, it was really incredible. It was so sweet because they were also a tattoo artist and they had a couple of people who brought their flash sheets they had made to tattoo their tattoos on people. So I have one of their little creations on me
Oh,
forever.
what
It's
is
like a little
that?
bat guy,
Oh, okay. I see.
but
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, it was just completely surreal and getting to do emotional pieces. And I didn't, I was the one person in that group that did not know them personally. But just to hear them say that they loved my creativity and they wanted me to be there, um, I couldn't have been more honored.
Yeah.
It was just an amazing experience.
Well, you left an impact on them, even though you didn't know them that well. It's like, um, so kind of maybe it's a weird comparison, but it's like, the drag queens on Drag Race and stuff like that. Like, a lot of them we will never get to meet, like, or get to know on like a personal level. But they inspire us. Like Jiggly Caliente just recently, who passed away. She I didn't know who Jiggly Caliente was. The only context of her that I've had was on TV, but she left an impact, not just for me, but for everyone who watched her on the show, and obviously the people who were the closest to her. Like that was the sad, like very sad that she
Yeah,
passed away so suddenly. But it's just you never know whose lives you're gonna touch, and especially when we all are dead and gone, there's always going to be somebody that um, we touched that we didn't know, like a stranger on the street. Um, maybe it was a friend that you never like you were very close to, and then all of a sudden, like you stopped talking to them. Like, and there was no fallout. I have a lot of friends that like we haven't had a fallout. Like we haven't nothing bad has ever happened, but we just don't talk anymore. And I know if they pass away, like it's going to be sad because like those types of people have left an impact on me, and maybe they don't know it. So it's really important at the end of the day to just tell people how much you love them as much as you can.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, not to get too teary eyed and sad. Just going back to community and stuff like that. How did you cultivate the community that you currently have? Because you have Ducky Loveless, you have Fanny DeVito, this bitch. Probably forgetting. Oh, Neva, Evil Kaniva. Like you have a bunch of different people in your corner. Like how did you end up in that circle?
So a lot of us actually we did the same shows together when I was starting burlesque. And so I just Ducky would usually be running crew when she wasn't performing. Um, and I that was how, she pulled Fanny in, Medza, this bitch, um, all got pulled into the same shows, and that was kind of our jumping off point of knowing each other. But I don't think that we really, really solidly got to know each other until I started doing shows, the Neato Dragito shows when Fanny was running the shows. And it kind of gave me more of a perspective of like how much it was important to have those support systems in place where, it started out more as like, oh, I can share a prop with you, or if you need a costume piece, you can borrow this. And it just turned into this really beautiful communal relationship where a lot of like the looks and things that I've done, a lot of my inspirations, like I wouldn't have been able to accomplish them without their kindness and their generosity. And with Ducky in particular, like we're so close now, and she's really filled this more parental role for me. And they've all in their own way helped me grow as a not only as a performer but as a person. And so it just I hate to say the like we just kind of fell into each other's laps, but we kind of did, and we ended up being there for each other where we needed it, and now we're just I mean, we're all family. Um,
Mhm,
and I think that they all do their own community work in their way, and it's all beautiful and inspiring, and I'm so appreciative of them, and it's really helped me make these bonds with these, younger performers or other alternative performers, even if they've been performing a long time. Like I just have all of these wonderful connections with them, and I'm able to do that because I've been so inspired by the other people in my life. And I'm fortunate for that. And I love this group that I work with the closest
mhm.
to pieces. They're amazing.
Yeah, I mean to the point where you've like taken a lot of their um you could see a little bit of everybody in your drag. Like you really like that love is shown throughout your whole drag. Like you've made it your own thing, but at the same time like you're honoring the people that have uplifted you, which I think is really cool. It fits into your narrative about like community and stuff like that really well. And you should be very proud, especially like, you're a title holder now. You're taking the reins off from an award nominated show. Like as far as I'm aware, like Nito Dragito is the only award nominated show that I'm aware of, like drag show in Spokane. So like to be that's something to brag about, and actually something I do want to talk about because now it's called Queerdos. It's hosted by you and this bitch. um who I'm also familiar with this bitch. We did Rocky Horror many years ago. We weren't really close, but she was always nice. Whenever
Yeah.
whenever we interacted, but we did Rocky Horror together before she did drag. Um, how did you how did you get into like? Why do you think Fanny chose you to be the co-host of the now titled Queerdos?
You know, I don't know actually what his personal thoughts were, but I like to think that I've shown that I'm organized and responsible and that I believe in the vision of the show. And I mean, not to be too selfish about it, but why the fuck wouldn't you?
Oh yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, this
But,
bitch
you know,
also was a part of it too. Like
yeah.
at least I've seen her do it with Fanny a bunch of times, like co-hosting together. But you both are taking the reins. So why the name change and like is it any different than Nito Dragito, like what it used to be?
It's different. I would say structurally it is different. I know when Fanny was running it, it was a little more loose. Like it was still open cast like it is now. But not quite as strict. I'm definitely a bit more of a very heavily structured, like I'm holding people accountable. I want them, whether they're a hobbyist or they want to do this as a career, like I want them to take it seriously and I want them to be responsible for themselves and to like, if I give you a deadline, like I expect you to have those things done by that deadline. Um, I want them to, I also want to challenge them. And I think that's something too, is that our shows were maybe, we would have themes, but um, we were, I think Fanny was a little more okay with the looseness of the theme, where I'm like, if I'm gonna put you in a show that has a theme, I want you to challenge yourself to match that.
Mhm,
And I don't think there's anything wrong with it either. I mean, there's a lot of informal drag spaces where it's you show up and you do your thing and you get your bag and you go, and that's totally okay. But I also know that a lot of these younger performers are theater kids. They're used to that structure. They're used to having expectations of them. And especially if I want to hold this standard of like community values and being responsible for each other and, you know, holding yourself and each other accountable, that structure is really important. So the rebrand was more not only to just I love Neato as a bar and I love Neato Dragito just because it's so silly and campy. But I think rebranding it as Queerdos is just like a very honest, um, very in your face definition of what we are. And we are a bunch of queer weirdos.
mm,
And the mass majority, actually our entire returning cast that is there consistently are all trans. And I think we're the only all trans show here. Um, And I think that's part of that too, is just we're allowed to be weird, we're allowed to be gross, um, we're allowed to express ourselves however we see fit. And I just want to be able to also give them a basis of structure and challenge so that they feel consistently inspired and don't run into that like burnout of maybe doing the same thing over and over again or not having a prompt to get
mhm.
them like really thinking about what they want to do. And I've just in the few short months that I've been running it with this bitch and we're very like similarly oriented when it comes to how we view community and what we should be doing. um, I've seen people I've watched for years, like their energy has changed, their dedication to their looks has changed. Some of them are making costumes where they've never made costumes before, and that has blown me away. And they're just such an incredible cast of people, and we keep getting new people who just keep raising that bar and they inspire and challenge each other. And that's just what I hoped for.
Yeah. I mean, like that's what Nita Dragito is all about, was like highlighting, like giving people that space that you like you don't really get to find in Spokane. I know Nine does like uh, event. I don't know how often they do it, but like they do like amateur nights and stuff like that. But you don't get a lot of spaces that do like amateur hobbyists, like, oh, I've always wanted to do drag, like type of thing, and like perform, like actually perform in front of a crowd. And like that was the appeal to Neato Burrito to me. Sorry, Neato Dragito, not the restaurant. Neato Dragito, to me was because there were a lot of people who want to do drag, but just didn't have the space to do it. When I went to Nito Dragito, I was so impressed by like the energy that like everybody there wanted to be there to see a show. And I think the one criticism I have of Nine and the reason why I don't go, I love the queens there, I love the performers there. It's the audience there does not is not there to watch the show. Like every time that I've been there, like they've never really been engaged in like what is going on. And I think it's the venue's fault, not like the managers or anything like that. Like the type of venue it is, it's so far away. Like they perform on the dance floor and then they'll come around to where all the tables and stuff are. But every time that I've been to Nine for a show, like nobody's paying attention to like what's going on. And it's just like so infuriating. It's like, look at this diva. Like she's dancing. Like she's like putting all like she's putting her whole pussy on the dance floor right now. And you're not, I don't know, you're just sipping a beer with a friend or whatever. It's like so annoying. It just annoyed me so much. And it's just like, ugh, it's not fun when the audience isn't engaged. So like with Nito Dragito, like these new performers are getting the opportunity and like the people there are engaged with what's going on. And I think that's why I love it so much. And I'm excited to go to Queerdos. I need to go to Queerdos. I need to go to Evil Knieva's thing. So much drag, so little money sometimes and energy to like go
So
out.
fair.
Because like when I go to Seattle, like you think like, oh, Sid always goes to Seattle, goes to Queer Bar. Yeah, I go to Queer Bar maybe once every like 3 months, like 4 months or something. So I'm not even going to Seattle that
Right.
much. Yeah. So um who knows if that will change once I like move there or whatever. But um I will go there eventually. How is this bitch as a host? Like, because we talked about this bitch. Like how is both of your hosting styles? Like, are you guys like maybe one's like the kooky spooky one, one's the more serious? Like, what's your personalities like when it comes to like hosting?
So I'm a very, very anxious host.
Yeah,
And it shows. And I'm very like dry when it comes to humor and things, and that's more just because I am nervous. And so, I get some laughs. I say some off the wall stuff that's just like, what the hell are you talking about? And then this bitch, I mean, she has jokes. She does really good crowd work. I feel she knows the audience super well and responds well. She's very like quick-witted, and she just has like this mixed bag of things. And while she can say some of the most random stuff, but she knows how to connect with our audience really well. And so I try to let her run more of the hosting because I do so much of I do all of the background work, which was kind of our agreement because that's what I'm good at. Um, but when I do go up, I do more of like the more serious announcements, or just doing like little extra things, and I try to just keep the ball rolling. So it's something I'm working on. I'm hoping one day I'll be better at crowd working, but in the meantime, I'm kind of like I'm so anxious on a mic that I just try to do what I can and then keep it going.
yeah. You just need a few shots, probably, or like take some like take a few dabs.
Yeah, I wish I could say that helped, but it doesn't.
Oh, it does. It does not. Okay, well there you go.
No, it doesn't chill me out enough. I
Okay,
I just end up I end up yapping more, and then I'm
I
like,
see.
okay, I've been on this mic for far too long.
That's fair. That's fair. Well, I'm sure you guys do a really good job, and hopefully, Spokane Arts recognizes that again, and you're up for the award again. So I will
Future
put you up for a
episode.
I will put you up for a nomination. This time I won't be I won't be campaigning because I already won.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's right.
I would love that. I
Yeah,
would love that.
it's your turn. It's your guys' turn. um, we're kind of coming towards the end of the show. This has been a really good conversation. Like I love when a conversation goes on and I'm like, I look at the time, I'm like, oh shoot. Like it's
Yeah,
been
no
like
kidding.
um I have one more big question. It's more of a stereotypical like interview question. I need to find a better last question to ask, but until then, here it is. Where do you see TS Loveless in 5 years? Because you've been doing drag now for 3.5. You're getting to your 5 year mark. Maybe not even 5 years, I guess. Like, where do you see yourself in the next 2 years since you're coming up on your 5 year anniversary?
It's something I've really thought about, and a big goal of mine for the drag community in general and for myself is that this would be something that I could have as a form of diverse income. And right now it does help. It does help a lot. But my hope is to eventually make drag a viable job here where, if people are really dedicated to it and they're committed and they want to work really hard, that they would be able to make an income off of it. And right now, I don't think that's possible because we have such inconsistent crowds and things here. So my hope, where I'm hoping to be at, is to have more shows. I would like ideally to start establishing shows and then passing them on to people who really want to take their time and put their energy into those things and make it theirs. So that hopefully this can be, a much more diverse and po possible income source for the creatives that are in Spokane. Because I feel like we have so many creatives and they just don't make anything off of, their creativity, and that really sucks because there are people who are so impassioned by it and it's very stifled, and I don't know what it is about our arts community here, which is so vast that people are just not making um the money that they deserve off of their art. And so for myself, I mean, I would say in my personal life, um, I'm hoping to buy a house. I'm hoping to get
Oh,
married. Um, Pretty boring normie stuff, I guess.
yeah.
But for my drag career, I just really want to have our community be so much more than it is, and to grow it and to bridge those gaps between classic drag and alternative drag and be able to provide that opportunity for people to not only produce shows but also to hopefully make money off of them.
Yeah, I mean, like that's the dream for anybody, you know.
Yeah.
The house thing is very big. Like
Yeah.
I unfortunately I don't know if I'll ever own a house. I don't even know if I want one. I think I'm a condo person, you know. Like
That's fair.
I need something small, something that doesn't need too much maintenance and stuff like that. But no, that's a pretty big goal. I'll root for you on that, especially in this economy. Um,
Yeah, no kidding.
Exactly, exactly. But I think, you know, like the issue with the arts here is, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I mean, we have things like Terrain, which are trying to do that, like where they're trying to give the artists that exposure, whether it's like their yearly Terrain, you know, big art exhibit show that they do, or, you know, like the other works that they do around town. Spokane Arts has always been a good resource, at least for me when it came to like, you know, whether it's the award that I won or, you know, getting a grant, like when I was back when I was doing theater and stuff like that. Like we have those things, but like on a more consistent basis, it's so difficult, especially for queer people, because like we we don't really just have the space to do queer art, you know, specifically queer art, like they do in Capitol Hill in Seattle, for example. Seattle, you could like 4, 5, 6, 7 gay bars in the area, like do drag shows every every day, basically. Like, um,
Yeah.
it's just like it's hard to compete with that when it just feels like the community like doesn't really support it, even though it's there. Like support is there, like from the people that we know and stuff like that. But like um, the general population of Spokane doesn't seem to want that. Like, oh, we'll give you your queer art walk in June and, Pride Month and all that. But then the rest of the year, it's just like, well, what now? What do we do now? That's a challenge. I hope you get there for sure.
I sure hope so. Yeah, I've, thought really long and hard about it, and I'm also helping develop what will eventually become a co-op um with Lunarium, which is the tea house that I manage in town.
Mhm.
And it's something that I've really been looking at where if I can figure out how to provide that space, I think I can make it possible.
Yeah.
Um, that, and I have a lot of friends who are disabled, aren't able to work, and so this is their income, whatever little they're able to scrape together from drag shows. And if I could make that to where it is, in some sense of the word, sustainable for them, like I would love nothing more than to do that for them.
Oh yeah, that would be a great opportunity. Bragging
Yeah.
rights for sure.
Yeah.
I get to pay these people like in comparison to like other places and stuff like that. The one thing, you know what? Like I do have one more question. I know that I said like the 2 year question was going to be the last one, but I did forget to talk about Mix PFLAG Gay Spokane because isn't that your first title?
Yes, yes,
Okay, how did you? And you got that off of Fanny. He was the former Mr. PFLAG Gay Spokane.
yes.
What? How did you feel winning that? Especially in your short, like 3.5 years is not short by any means, but like in comparison to most people, like it is like a short reign as far so far in drag. Like getting that like title must feel like really good.
Yeah, I it was kind of on a whim, and I thought about it and I was like, okay, community work, I can do that. And that was kind of a step up from where I was supporting these other fundraisers and things where I was like, I feel like I could do something more serious. And, you know, I I really feel like I rose to the challenge, and winning that felt good. And it was my first jumping off point with connecting to these other performers who have been staples in our community for so long. And I mean, there were people there um, from Oregon, from other places in the country who came up just to be at my step up. And I thought that was incredible that so many people were just coming together for for it's a pageant, like it's very old school drag, and it felt good to be somebody who's alternative and maybe doesn't look as polished or pretty as a lot of these other performers. Because obviously I don't really do pageant drag.
Mm.
Uh, but to be able to have that representation not only for myself, but then also just to show other people that, yeah, I'm fucking weird and I can still do awesome, amazing things and connect with people. It felt really good. And I I don't think I was quite prepared for the ride that I was on during my reign. But it has given me so much perspective, not only into like the elders in the queer community, um, in drag, but also just this deep appreciation for the art form, for all of the struggles that are even just our queer community here have gone through. Um, and then getting to like Crystal Marche just released the like queer history project that she's been working on for 3 years. And like what a dynamic moment, not only to have now our own chapter of the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence come back to Spokane after it had been shut down several years ago and having a new branch, but then also the Queer History Project and just all of these phenomenal things that are doing worlds of work making our community visible to each other, not only to each other, but to other people. Um, it's just so special. And
Hmm.
I'm so proud I got to be a part of that. And I was gonna rerun, and then my partner and I of 10 years ended up breaking up. So I'm like, I gotta get my head back in the game before I
Yeah.
rededicate another year. But yeah, I had an incredible time. I was met with a lot of love and appreciation that I never expected being an alternative performer. And I've made a lot of wonderful, meaningful connections with people that I probably never would have if I hadn't. So I'm very happy that I've done that, and I plan to continue to achieve more of those goals that I have, and
Yeah.
maybe do some more titles too, because I just really want to push us forward into the future, and I really feel like I'm doing that genuinely, and it sounds funny, but I'm like, it's so nice to be a cog in our
Yeah.
community at this point.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like you're gonna hopefully one day you'll be like on the lips of like younger performers who revere Fanny DeVito, or like which it's still crazy to me how many people revere him because knowing Fanny, I knew Fanny um when he was like a kid, like a minor. I
Yeah.
We did a theater show together back at the Spokane Civic Theater, but then like we also did like he was 17 going into 18, and we also did a show together, Psycho Beach Party, that was written by Charles Bush, and he was always so timid, so shy, so like, little baby, like type deal. And to think like so many other drag performers are like, oh, I want to be like Fanny DeVito. Like Fanny DeVito is so amazing and stuff like that. Like I'm pretty sure they're gonna say the same thing about T.S. Loveless.
I mean, as much as I would appreciate that, I think as long as I am inspiring people to do the right things, then I've done my job.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of people don't know who I am, but they know what I'm doing, and that's
Yeah.
important. So I'm just happy to have my actions positively precede me, and I couldn't be
Hmm.
more thankful for that. So appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you see yourself like on TV, like drag show, like drag king shows specifically? Do you see yourself being on a show like that or maybe on a Dragula type deal?
I've definitely thought about it. Um, with Dragula, there's some things contractually that I don't know if I agree with them.
Mm.
And no hate to the Boulets, but I'm also like very anti uh like reality show personality. So
Oh, that's
I don't know if I would be very entertaining for them, which it
uh,
seems to affect their judgment when it comes to who gets cut.
oh, that's
Because
fine.
watching like one of the last seasons, and I was like, oh, Jarvis is so kind and like so sweet and just not really that shady. And then
Hmm.
seeing him get cut, I was like, no, my boy.
Yeah, that's what a lot of
But
people thought too.
um, yeah, I mean, it's a lot of people idealize that as like the peak of their career, where they go and do these shows. And for me, it's like that'd be so casual for me.
Mm.
So I visualized it, and I did think about applying to the King's show, but it will definitely take some time to be in like the financial
Mm.
spot for me to do that because I do know that it does, you know, it does cost money
That's
to
fair.
be doing those things and to follow your dreams. And so when I think it'll fall into the right place, right time,
Hmm.
and then I'll be ready for it.
You know what? You
So
could
maybe down the road.
you'd probably be really good at the Emerald Kings Ball, Emerald City Kings Ball. Are you familiar with that?
I'm not.
Yeah, it's a drag king ball that happens in Seattle.
Oh,
Like it's
sick.
yeah, it's called the Emerald City Kings Ball. Um, Dizzyphoria, who is a guest on the show,
Mm,
was a title holder for that specifically. A couple other people. We've had like Chance Hazard and from Seattle as well, like be a part of it in some way. I can't remember what their title was, but he was also like associated with that too. So hey, there's a Kings Ball in
I could
Seattle.
certainly see doing something like that.
All right. Well, TS, that's about as much time that we have left for you, unfortunately. Thank you so much for being on the show. Where can people find you if they had to follow you on social media?
They can find me on Instagram at Viridian Venom, VIRIDIAN underscore VENOM. Um, Other than that, all of my other pages are personal, so that's about
That's fair.
it.
That's fair. Yeah, don't follow them on their personal shows, like
No,
pages. Yeah.
not unless I know you.
Exactly. And then if people want to find you in Spokane, where do you normally perform?
I'm typically at Queerdos, and I do a lot of random stuff, but Queerdos at Neato Burrito is definitely in the number one place. But if you do want to meet me in person, Lunarium Late Night Tea Company, please, by all means,
Uh,
pop in and say hi.
yeah. Lunarium, I feel like that name sounds familiar too. Like, are they kind of like on the outskirts just a little bit?
They're on the corner of Northwest Boulevard and Monroe.
Okay, yeah, I'm totally thinking of a different thing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you again, T.S. Loveless, for being on the show. And Wayward Artist, thank you so much for listening to this lovely episode with T.S. Loveless here. I'm Thumali, that's Thumali, have been your host. And you should listen to the show and from all of our other guests as well who have ever been on this show. You can listen to this on YouTube like you are right now, or maybe you're listening to this on podcast services right now. Wherever you choose to watch the Wayward World Studios shows, we support that. Tune in to the after show, the fast forward, where I'm going to ask T.S. Lovelace a bunch of questions, lightning round questions. Wayward Artists, without further ado, it's been real.